When I sat down to first play Dragon Ruins 2, I naively believed I would be doing a repeat of my video for the first game from last year. How much different could an RPG with the design ethos of a game for tired people be? The original Dragon Ruins was incredible in how direct and brief it was, but that mantra of being a game for people without much time almost felt like it would be a limiting factor going forward. Man, was I wrong. In a fashion similar to this very channel, which I started last year under the name of Kill All Games, Dragon Ruins 2 feels like something of a reboot from developer Grave Robber Foundation. This sequel, which has very limited narrative connectivity, is so much bigger and so much more in-depth that it feels like the actual start of a series rather than the tech demo that the original was. Not to crap on that original outing, but this installment is a legitimate game versus being a funny gimmick that tickles the reptilian part of my brain. While I suppose that might sound like damning praise, don't be mistaken. Dragon Ruins 2 is incredibly solid and well worth your time if you dig dungeon crawling RPGs that are similar in style to Ultimo or Legend of Grimrock. As I mentioned in the intro, the original Dragon Ruins was sold as a dungeon crawling microgame for tired people. Dragon Ruins 2 continues that same descriptor, though it drops the micro part, as everything here is not micro in the slightest. Having highly recommended the first game last year, I figured that this sequel would be another short and sweet bit of RPG goodness that I'd blast through in a single sitting. I loved that about the original, and while it did maybe lack replay value, it was so boldly confident in its direction that it was hard not to be entranced. Dragon Ruins 2, though, expands on everything that the first game had, and introduces features that broaden the scope of this dungeon crawling adventure. There's still not much in the way of plot, with the ultimate goal being to help a queen expel a dragon from the ruins of Facele, but the journey to get to that point will see you explore many different dungeons and tackle various quests as you power up your party, earn gear, and collect treasure to defeat the dragon threat. Even just the opening menu presents so many more options that I was stunned. And what may sound like a knock against this game, it's not like anything Dragon Ruins 2 contains is revolutionary for the genre. There are other RPGs that do everything this game does and have even more quote-unquote content, but the unique charm of the original Dragon Ruins shines through here. Combat is still an automatic affair, with players navigating through different dungeons and automatically battling foes they encounter. You don't have to deal with menus or magic or anything when dispatching foes, freeing up time to navigate the labyrinthine corridors more efficiently. In that sense, this is indeed still a game for tired people, i.e. people tired of how bloated and drawn out RPGs can be. Where this game differs from its predecessor is that the various hallways now have a more considered design. The first Dragon Ruins mostly presented empty hallways with twists and turns that would either lead to dead ends or diverging paths. This time, each region presents a dungeon of ever-expanding size that can see hallways contain spike traps, damaging sigils, teleporters, or bottomless pits. Enemies also occupy specific segments of hallways, so you can't simply wait at the start and take out everyone in a given room. Navigation is as efficient as ever, but it's wrought with more peril now. Before you get into that, you'll need to select your party, and this is another system that Dragon Ruins 2 expands from its predecessor. While class composition and formation mattered a bit in the first, the second game gives you more options to swap characters when at your home base before setting off on another mission. I still don't think formation matters too much, but if you feel an archer isn't doing you any favors, you now don't need to restart the entire game to swap them out. Just change your party members and proceed onward. You can even change their weapons at any given time, diversifying how they deal damage in the thick of things. Again, this is another aspect where Dragon Ruins 2 feels light years ahead of its predecessor. Items can be picked up in dungeons and equipped at any moment, but they also directly affect the stats and damage output of your characters. You might see your damage go up when equipping something called a Ghost Blade, but it also has a detriment to your speed. Again, not revolutionary to the genre, but greatly welcomed as it adds complexity without sacrificing the design ethos. Everything is just so snappy in Dragon Ruins 2 that even when you're fiddling around in the menus, you don't feel like your time is being wasted. You can upgrade all of your equipment, each piece of armor and each weapon has an ultimate form that could be purchased eventually, and level ups still require money to initiate. At first, you'll be walking back to your home base, as you won't have teleport scrolls, but eventually you'll acquire those and speed up the process. There's also a nice quality of life change in that once you've finished a mission, you could select the travel option in the menu and skip paying to return. It's maybe hard to accurately explain why I'm so elated, as the additions here sound as if I'm talking about the fundamentals of RPG design. The thing is, For someone like me that grew up on the more simplistic titles that were hyper-focused rather than dripping in lore, flavor text, cutscenes, and elongated animations, Dragon Ruins 2 feels like taking the best elements of modern RPGs and boiling them down to their essential properties. You even have an ultimate attack that can be initiated with a button press once a meter fills, but it doesn't stop the game to showcase some elaborate animation that will become aggravating the second or third time you've seen it. It's just fantastic. The variety of dungeons is really just the cherry on top. My one complaint from the original, if you will, is that once you finish the campaign, that was it. You could tackle it in New Game Plus, but the dungeon was exactly the same, and the boss was even in the same location. I guess at the heart of things, Dragon Ruins 2 is similar, but there are more than 10 different dungeons you can explore, with a handful of them being twice the size of the original game. The different quests you have will take you throughout these dungeons, discovering new areas, grabbing different items, and fighting different bosses. It's obviously simplified from a standard RPG, but you now have the variety that was sorely lacking with the first. Let's put it another way. The first game was a chill afternoon type of title where you could boot it up and be done within 90 minutes. Dragon Ruins 2 will take you roughly 6 hours to beat the dragon, but then offers repeatable quests with ever-increasing difficulty that offer you a chance to power up different party members or find new gear. The plot even weaves this in as the dragon having laid eggs and new dragons being born, with the game eventually culminating in an ultimate dragon that really and truly ends things. I didn't get to that point as I binged the game for a live stream and did some tinkering afterwards, but there is a ton of content here for interested parties. I'm just astonished that, for a game marketed as being for tired people, Dragon Ruins 2 ignited my interest and made me feel like I had woken up to a bright new future. I typically check out of RPGs because of their lengthy plots and repetitive designs, but since Dragon Ruins 2 hastens the pace and diversifies its environments, it never feels like it gets old. I'm even tempted to level up every character as far as I can, a feat made easier by each dragon kill, bringing your idle characters up to your current max character level. You basically have New Game Plus fully integrated into the campaign. I hate to put a disclaimer that states, other games have this stuff, but I don't want to oversell Dragon Ruins 2. It's absolutely an improvement on the first and another really great indie RPG, but don't expect a revelation when it comes to game design. What you can expect, though, is to find a much deeper, richer, and more engrossing title than its predecessor that will remind you why you loved RPGs in the first place. I can't wait for the already announced sequel.